Namaskar and welcome to the Forbes India show. I'm Shireen Bhan and we're in conversation with Som Mittal, the president of Nasscom, a man who spent several years trying to maneuver the fate and the fortune of the Indian IT industry, both domestically as well as globally. He's now all set to hang up his boots. Som Mittal, appreciate you joining us here on the show. Let me start by asking you about your trip to Washington. Of course, currently the shutdown is in effect, but you accompanied the Prime Minister along with another business delegation. The joint communique that's been put out by India and Washington seems to suggest that the IT and the ITS industry is important for both countries. Is that a signal that perhaps there could be a better understanding of India's problems with the immigration bill and that the US is actually willing to take some of those apprehensions on board?
Yes, I think so. We are seeing increasingly there's a better understanding in the White House and the administration, also among the U.S. corporations, because actually the work that we do is really for them ensuring that they become competitive. So I think we are seeing traction right now. The House bill is a clean bill. It doesn't put the same restrictions, has all the positives that the immigration bill has. So we do hope that when the conferencing happens, and it's probably likely to happen early next year, no longer this year, that people would not insist on those negative clauses.
But did you get any sense that that is perhaps going to be the route that will be taken? Because did you get a sense of assurance that if push comes to shove, the White House will weigh in and look after India's considerations?
Well, I think the indications are that they will weigh in because when it becomes of strategic nature, I think everybody realizes how important this industry is for India.
But it's also about give and take. So will India need to give as far as the IPR issues are concerned if Washington were to play ball on India's IT concerns?
Well, I think we have solved a lot of the other issues. We had issues around transfer pricing, about profit split.
Sure.
Rangachari committee recommendations have been accepted.
Which is bound to coincide with the finance minister's last trip to Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
And the PMA issue has been resolved. We had this time things on compulsory testing and what was the deadline. That's got solved. And there will be some sticky issues which are around IP, which is largely related to pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
And we have a Supreme Court judgment.
That was the point that I was trying to make. Are they going to hold the IP, which is the big bugbear as far as large pharma companies are concerned? We've seen, and you must have seen those hoardings that were put up around the US as well, talking about India's IP policy, our IPR regime, and the problems that the US has with that. Will the give and take amount to India giving in on the IP issue for the IT industry to benefit?
I don't think so. I think those are unrelated issues. We have our own case. I think we need to resolve any issue that India has, making business easier, removing the friction that we have. And similarly, US has to do that for us, right, where we see that it's going to harm. So I don't think there's really a barter. But I think we as Indian government has moved quite a lot in terms of many changes that have been made in the last 6 months, and I think it's getting noticed.
Are you getting support from large American corporations, the IBMs, the Accentures of the world? Are they coming in and lobbying on your behalf as well?
Well, they had a different stance because the negative provisions did not impact. There were many positive provisions which they wanted the bill to go through with. So, but there is a change in mind. I think we are seeing companies like IBM. They've written a letter to Chairman Goodlatte supporting the House bill, saying they do not want to see the negative provisions that are in the Senate bill, in the House bill. So I think there is momentum there. Under USIBC, I think we are seeing a number of US corporations and customers now weighing in because the impact on them is as large as it is on us. So I think we are on the right track right now.
So realistically, when should we be ready? Whether the best case scenario or the worst case scenario, but when should we be ready or when should industry be ready for the transition?
I think it should be in the first and second quarter, calendar quarter next year. So as I said, our estimate is that the House will pass the bill in October-November time frame, but that won't give them enough time to do the conferencing. So I would think it would be taken up again in February-March, unless some other issue hijacks this. But we think there is momentum for the immigration bill. There are many provisions which are positive for industry as well as very important for US in terms of undocumented workers. So this is the first time we've seen enough traction on that, and I think next year is when we would see something happen.
If it is the worst case scenario, and that of course is going to be the biggest nightmare facing this industry at this point, but in case of the worst case scenario, what is going to be the impact? What is going to be the hit?
Well, there is always a short-term impact that happens, but then I think business models will change as some people have forecast. There'll be work that will move more offshore, which will impact U.S. economies even more.
Which pretty much will change the business model for Indian IT companies altogether.
Yeah, I think the key point is that this is not an Indian IT company model. Even the large service companies, American, European, use the same model. They do work here in India and they have to take people for a short term there. By the way, we are increasingly hiring people in the United States, not because just of the immigration act.
So we transitioned from the offshore model to the hybrid model, which was more the mix of offshore and onshore, or offshore and on-site. What can we evolve to now if this bill does go through in the form that we don't want it to go through?
So I think the issue is only with some negative provisions. We are already hiring more people across the world for language reasons, for proximity, and for being in the same time zone, because the kind of work we do is closer to business right now. But the work that is done temporary basis on site, for example, installation work, right? We would still need some. So I think the negative provisions are on visa dependency. We'll probably have to move there, but I don't think we have to get our plan B and plan C going. I think our plan A, that the negative provisions would be taken off, is the plan that we are really working on.
So you have to be prepared though for a plan B and a plan C as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the trajectory.
The pricing model of this business, if plan B and plan C were to come into effect, the pricing model of this business is going to change.
Yeah, so then that's customer. I think they get an
What
advantage.
happens then to margins, and what happens then to the low-cost arbitrage, which really is, I mean, we can quibble about Senator Grassley and all of that, but it is at the very heart of this business and the very heart of this business model.
Yeah, it is, but no, let's not. We have a huge sustainable long-term advantage. What we offer is just not price. I think it is access to resources, right? There is a worldwide shortage that is there for technical resources, including the United States. There are not enough people that are joining STEM. So at the end of it, if the work has to be done, and technology is at the center of all transformation, there are very little choices that customers would have. So if the price goes up, so be it. I don't think it will have major impact, but what we do today is optimum, right? So we'll be moving from what is optimum to a non-optimum, which does not help United States in any manner. So the feeling in the United States is there are those negative provisions do not help US in any way. So why have them? And I think that's.
Have you been able to convince Senator Grassley? Did you try and reach out to him?
Well, I think there'll be enough people there who will do this. We do keep meeting their staff, and they understand our position. We just had a very, very good debate at the Brookings, where I think it was established that those negative provisions do not help, and that there is shortage of skilled resources in the US. And by the time they try and sort it out, if they disrupted our business model, it will be the United States and the corporations there who will suffer. So I think that is the message which is clear.